Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. This episode of Welcome Home is brought to you by DVC Resale Market. Thank you for joining us on episode 262 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, here with Trevor, and I'm back.
Hey. Yeah, welcome back.
It feels weird. I feel like I haven't talked to you in like forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard, right? When we have like a couple of weeks break. And the thing was, you know, we knew that before you left, that we kind of planned, and we had that extra wait list come out and everything. But yeah,
hopefully everybody enjoyed that.
yeah, I hope so. I really enjoyed recording that one too.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah,
but yeah, it's funny how like you said, you know, a couple of weeks go by and this feels a little awkward at first.
Does it?
Well, it almost feels like, you know, when we first started that we were kind of like not sure about how to like engage one another. It's like you almost forget because you don't talk to each like we're not talking every week.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but it's I can kind of like compare it to like when you're gone from work for like a week and then you come back and you're like, what was I working on like a week ago?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's funny because like even just being gone for a week and then you come home, it just like it feels weird, right? Like it in a weird way, it's like it's only been a week. It hasn't been that long. But like it just feels like you've been gone for much longer, you know.
It's like you went to Narnia or something.
To Narnia, what a reference!
Love Narnia.
Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's just one of those things that it's you have to get used to. You have to like get yourself back into the world. And I had actually, you know, it's funny because I had taken off. We had come back on Sunday, and I had taken off work Monday. Because I wanted a recovery day, right? Like I wanted a day to like get myself back together, right? And it's funny because everyone I told that to was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." Like no one was like, "Why are you doing that? That's stupid." Everyone was like, "That's a great idea." Like you totally should have a recovery day. You know, it was good because I could, you know, do all the laundry that we had and, you know, like get ourselves together. It was kind of nice to have that time. But and it's funny. So what's that?
You were resting from your vacation.
I was resting from my vacation. Well, listen, let's be honest, okay? If you're looking for a relaxing vacation, Disney is not the relaxing vacation.
Yeah.
If you do the parks, right? Like it's not the relaxing vacation you're looking for. If you want a relaxing vacation, go to the beach or, you know, I guess go on a cruise or whatever. But yeah, Disney is not always the most relaxing vacation in the world. So,
well, let's get into it here. I want to hear what happened. Start from the beginning, and then I will have some questions along the way.
So the funny thing is, Trevor, when I got home, I was like, I should make some notes from the trip because I'm going to start forgetting things very quickly. So I've been kind of piecing together everything because I just didn't get a chance to put notes together, but I do have a good idea of what I did. So, you know, first of all, we drove down to my mom's the day before. We've talked about this before. My mom lives an hour and a half from Disney, so we stayed with her overnight. You know, nice little drive down to Florida. It was fine actually. There was no traffic at all, so we made pretty good time, and it was a good trip. And then we got up pretty early. My daughter has lately, for some reason, been waking up at 5:30 in the morning every day. I don't know why. But like on the dot without a clock, she wakes up at 5:30 every day. So I was like, yeah, it's great. Yeah. Super great. But so she woke up at like 5:30, you know, woke us up. We got ourselves together, had some breakfast, and then got on the road. Right. So, you know, like I said, my mom's about an hour and a half away. I think we left there by like 8 o'clock in the morning, got to Disney around 9:30. Interestingly enough, the way that Google Maps takes me, for some reason, Google Maps always likes taking me through backstage areas, and I don't know why.
Like, you know, still roads. Like it's a road.
Are,
just use it.
But it's kind of a bummer because like I want to drive through the big gate that says, you know, like that has Mickey and Minnie on it. Like that's like a signal of that we're in the bubble now, you know. And if you drive through backstage areas, you don't get that, you know. I'm driving through like
you're just kind of there. Yeah,
exactly. I'm driving through like a regular Florida neighborhood, and I'm like, oh, okay, just driving through this neighborhood. I'm assuming Disney's somewhere around here, and then make a couple turns, and all of a sudden I'm at Saratoga Springs. It's like, wait, I was like, wait, how did I get here? I don't even know how I got here. But anyway, so we got to Saratoga. I've been to Saratoga before, so this is not necessarily a new experience. But I haven't stayed there for an extended period of time, and I've certainly not stayed in a 2-bedroom. So we got to the resort, and we went up to the front area to drop off our bags because we didn't want to leave the bags in the car. The interesting thing was it's kind of funny. Like, they have like this really small parking area for check-in. And so I said to the guy, I was like, hey, we don't have our room yet, and we want to go to the park, but what do I do with my car? And he's like, well, you can just park it like by the building across the street there. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm like, you don't have a parking lot for me to just park in? He's like, yeah, just park it across the street. You're fine. So, and it wasn't necessarily far or anything, but it was just kind of a awkward experience. I'm not used to that. We stay at Animal Kingdom all the time. There's a place to park, just park in the parking garage. But because of the way like Saratoga is built, it's like, you pull your car up to right outside your room. So
there's multiple parking lots, right? It's not just so you don't want to just go like park somewhere random because you're worried that they're gonna like go, hey, you're not supposed to be parked here or something, right?
Yeah, well, and plus, like, once we get our room assigned, I have to go back and get our car and then bring it to where we are staying, but which is fine. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? So, we drop our bags off, fine, whatever. We hop on the bus to go to Magic Kingdom. We got to Magic Kingdom like we got to Magic Kingdom around 9:30. I said we got to the resort at 9:30. We got to Magic Kingdom around 9:30. So it was still fairly early. From my mom's house, I had gotten a boarding group of 85 for Tron. And the boarding group of 85 is going to be part of this day later. Of something that happened later in this day.
So 85, I got like a boarding group of like 100, and that got me on at like 6 p.m. I think. So, okay. So yeah. All right, noted. Yeah.
So I'll get there. So Magic Kingdom was actually pretty crowded. This is supposed to be early May is supposed to be like a less crowded time, right? But it was. I have to say it was pretty crowded, and the crowd levels did diminish through the week, right? Like, so they got less crowded as the week went on. But Magic Kingdom was pretty crowded that day. We didn't buy Genie Plus because it wasn't going to be a full day there, right? We had scheduled an early dinner at not Saratoga Springs, at Disney Springs. And so we weren't going to spend the whole day at Magic Kingdom. It was kind of like a bonus day for us, right? So we were just kind of doing whatever, like, just going to the carousel and Small World and, Little Mermaid a million times because my daughter loves that ride. So we went on, I think, like 12 times the entire time we were there. Nice. Dumbo, Barnstormer. My daughter had her first ride on Barnstormer and she loved it. She really loved it. I think we rode it like 10 times while we were at Disney this time. Literally like 10 times. I at one point had convinced my daughter to go on Big Thunder Mountain. And she was like, yeah, it was like, it was like that post like roller coaster, like, I don't want to call it a high, but you know what I mean? Like, you have
she
that
had
like
the
adrenaline
confidence.
still. Yeah, even though it's just the Barnstormer, for my daughter, that's, it was a lot for her. So so she had like that post roller coaster confidence. She's like, yeah, let's do Big Thunder, right? And so we start walking over there and she's like, I'm not gonna do Big Thunder. I'm like, great. And I, part of me too was like, and I don't know how other people do this as parents, but I was like, maybe we'll just like, you can't really see most of Big Thunder from the queue. So maybe we just like go on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just don't tell her what it is. We'll just go do it and it'll be fine. Right. But then I remembered my daughter has watched YouTube videos of just about every single Disney ride. So she knows what it is. Like, I can't fool her into going. Yeah. But I don't want to do that anyway. So first of all, I need to mention for this entire week, it was hot. It was really hot. And Trevor, I actually went through the step because I knew I'd be talking to you about this. So I decided to convert the heat to Celsius so you'd have an idea of how hot it was. Okay. And also for all of our other listeners, it was 95 degrees Fahrenheit plus every day that we were there. So it's at 35, I think, Celsius.
Yeah, 35-ish, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, no joke. It was 95 the first day we were there, and then it only got hotter, culminating in Thursday that we were there. It was 98 degrees out. It was horribly hot. So, I mean, honestly, we used to go in July, and that was hot and miserable. This was worse. Like, I don't think I've ever been there when it was this hot before.
I feel like the spring humidity plays a factor in that too.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like I know it's humid everywhere down there, but I feel like because I've been there in May as well, and I agree that it's like it was definitely one of the hotter times we went. And I don't know what it is, because it's not like you said, it's not like getting over 100, but I think I think the humidity or something is just like, it just makes it a little worse. I don't know how that works, but
no, I agree. It does. Cause there's like, even when it's not hot out, when you have the humidity, you still have like your shirt is sticking to your skin, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're sweating, but you're not really sweating. You're just warm and gross and sticky, like that whole thing. So, so anyway, it was hot the whole week. So, but like I said, Magic Kingdom was pretty crowded. So we kind of just did whatever we could do that was easy to do. We didn't try to do anything crazy. I mean, there were times during the day that Haunted Mansion was like, 45 minutes to an hour. And so we didn't end up doing any of the big things. Like, so we didn't do like Jungle Cruise. We didn't do Haunted Mansion. We didn't do Big Thunder, just because they had really long queue lines and we just didn't want to do any of them at that point. Watched the parade, walked around, just kind of did whatever. So that brings me to Tron, right? Mm-hmm. So I know everybody's hopes are up that I did Tron, but I did not.
I was so hopeful, man.
No,
I was right there.
I did not.
I was excited for you for a minute.
Oh no, yeah, it wasn't happening. I will say though, I just taking that new walkway from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland is pretty cool. I don't know if you walk through there, but just
the one that goes underneath the walkway into Tron. Yeah, we used that a couple of times. It's actually a great back entryway into Tomorrowland, and also it that whole area is fantastic.
It is, like, the music and everything, like the whole vibe they have going on there is great. And like we even just kind of went back there to like hang for a few minutes, like sit in the shade, and we were just like watching, the Tron, train go by every, 30 seconds or so, right? Like, mm-hmm. And that was like kind of a good rest area for us. But
and there's washrooms up there too.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. So we just kind of took a look there. So we were going good with the boarding groups, right? We were going really well. Like it was like, I don't know, 2:00 or so, and they were on like 79, right? So we're like, okay, mm-hmm. We're in good shape here. Well, then all of a sudden the queue stops.
Oh no.
And I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was an issue, whatever, but the queue stops for like an hour. So context for this, we had our dining reservation was at Homecoming at like 4:30? I'm trying to remember the exact time I had it for, but it was an early dinner because we knew the people we were traveling with were coming in very early in the morning, right? So we thought, okay, well, we're all going to want an early dinner, right? Yeah, it was 4:30. 4:30 was it, right? So
now
my wife
have
gets
a choice to make.
Yes, we have a choice to make, right? So around like 3-ish, the group gets called, right? So we're like, okay, dinner's at 4:30. It's about 3:00. I think we're good, right? We're good. We can make this happen. Mm-hmm. It did not go well. So my wife got there, and I think she was probably online for an hour before she got on the ride. So now it's 4:00. Our reservation's at 4:30. So I said to my wife, and so at this point, my daughter and I had kind of gone off and done other stuff. We were kind of, doing whatever, but we met some princesses. We did a ride here or there while my wife was doing this. And so we had just kind of made our way to the front gate to go to the buses, to meet my wife there. Right. So she's texting me. It's like right around 4:00. And she's like, I just got off. And I'm like, okay, well, a bus just pulled up. So run. Like, and my wife doesn't really, and it's hot out, first of all. And, my wife, my wife also likes to say she has really, so that she has short legs, so she can't, run as fast or walk as fast as I do. And, Tron's all the way in the back of the park, right? So it's like, you got to go pretty far. So, and I also realized something that I did not know. And this was a pandemic change that it just didn't occur to me until now. I thought we were in good shape because I thought we could take a bus directly from Magic Kingdom to Disney Springs. Apparently, they discontinued the bus to Disney Springs from the parks during COVID, and it never came back. So now for me to get to Disney Springs, I had to go to Saratoga first and then go to Disney Springs.
Really?
Yeah. Which complicated efforts greatly.
I never thought about that because I guess we always went from the resort to Disney Springs. We never,
There used to be weird. A bus. It did exactly. Like I talked to one of the bus guys and I was like, I thought we could go directly from here to Disney Springs. And he's like, oh yeah, we used to have that. We just didn't bring it back after the pandemic. I'm like, great. So now I'm like,
so now that 30 minutes is like, because now you have to get. Oh, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I thought we were good. Like, I thought we were going to be okay. And then once I found out that there wasn't a direct bus, I'm like, okay, this isn't happening. We are not making this on time. So my wife runs up and, a Saratoga bus comes up and I go up to the bus driver. I'm like, hey, my wife is running here. Can you hang for a few? And he goes, oh, he's like, oh, I'm sitting here for like 10 minutes anyway. Cause they have like a certain amount of time. They got to stick around sometimes. Right. So my wife gets there. We get on the bus. It's probably 4:15 now. So we get on the bus, we get to Saratoga. We were staying, so we just got off at the first stop, right? So we got off at the first stop, and we were also staying at the first stop. So we're staying at the grandstand, which people that know Saratoga, that's the first bus stop. So it's the first to pick up and the first to get off, which is great. Part of why I requested the grandstand is for that reason, right? So we get off the bus. It's probably 4:30 already, right? At this point, because it's not that long of a drive, right? But as soon as we get off the bus, my daughter goes, "I need to go to the bathroom." I'm like, we really don't have time for that, honey. She's like, I need to go. And I was like, okay. We haven't even walked in our room yet, mind you. We have not been in our room yet. So I'm like, okay, well, we're at the bus stop at where our room is. So we ran over to the room. Went in there for the first time, used the bathroom, ran back out again, hopped on the Disney Springs bus once it came, and we got there about 45 minutes late for our reservation. Luckily, the rest of our party had gotten there early and had told them what was going on.
Waiting for you, yeah.
Yeah, but they wouldn't seat them, which kind of annoyed me. But I also understand they don't want to hold up a table for too long. I get it, but it was just like, they've got 2 young kids. Like just seat them somewhere. Come on. I mean, we're a big group too. So, So that really kind of sums up our first day there. Homecoming was great. I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted on the group, which is like the only picture I posted. I don't know why. I'll be honest with everybody. I really go into every trip being like, oh, I'm going to post stuff on the Facebook page a bunch. And then I just forget. Like I get wrapped up in vacation and I'm just like, I just social media doesn't exist at that point,
Yeah, I get that. I do the same thing too. I have good intentions and I try to, my wife was actually the savior on our last trip that she was posting stuff. So because I was not like you said, I'm in vacation mode and you just completely forget about the outside world and social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So so I don't know if you saw the pictures I posted. I got baby back ribs, and they were gigantic. It was like a full rack of ribs.
Yeah,
I mean,
ribs.
Absurdly large.
Yeah.
And then my wife got chicken fried steak, which was, again, it was the size of the plate. Like they literally brought the plates to the table, and I immediately said to the waitress, "Carry out boxes, please." Because I'm like, I am not eating all this. There's no way I'm eating all. I don't know of a human being who could eat all this food. But it was delicious as always. It was great. Really, really enjoyed it. We got back to the room. I really like the Saratoga rooms, and they were refurbished a couple of years back. But they have the Murphy bed in there, but they're very well appointed. They're very nice looking. They made a lot of really cool design choices in there. There's a chandelier over the table that's got it's almost like the range you'd have on a horse. Like, you know, they look like leather belts, but it's meant to be like, you know, like a racing kind of theme thing. So like it's got a lot of those great theming touches to it. I also need to mention too, so originally we were supposed to have my in-laws with us as well, and unfortunately they weren't unable to come, and so we had a 2-bedroom for 3 people, right? Which is, you know, a lot of space for 3 people.
That's a lot of space.
It is. So my daughter was very excited to have her own room with 2 beds in it, and you know, she was getting a kick out of how she had her own bathroom and all that. So we had all that. You know, like I said, the room's very nice. We really liked it. You know, we had our groceries and everything like that. On Saturday night, I decided to go back to Disney Springs by myself. Right. So my daughter went to bed, my wife went to bed, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be up for a couple more hours at least. Why don't I head over to Disney Springs and see if I can get some Gideon's? I wanted to get some Gideon's cookies. Right. So I get there. It's 9:00 on Saturday. And by the time I get to Gideon's, and they've got like at least a 50-person deep line to get in there. I'm like, no, not doing this. Mm-hmm. So and especially they closed, I think at 10 or 11. I'm like, even if I wait in this line, there's no way I'm getting in there by the time they close. And I'm not wasting my time doing this. So I literally took a bus to Disney Springs, got to Gideon's, went no, and then turned around and went back to the resort. So yeah, so that was unfortunate, and I actually never ended up getting back to Gideon's. I was going to try one night, and it just didn't work out because, you know, we were... Yeah,
you know, my son and I kind of did the same thing. My son actually wanted to go to Gideon's on our trip. And it was actually like, even back in February, it was the same kind of thing where we walked by there and he was like, yeah, let's go check it out. And then we saw the lineup around the side and he's like, no, we're not doing this.
Nope, yeah. Not waiting that long for cookies.
Yeah.
I thought by 9:00 at night that I would be good, but I was definitely wrong about that. And I guess because it was a Saturday night too, so probably didn't help my cause. Mm-hmm. So next day, Epcot. Basically, we're rope dropping every day, okay? Because all of the breakfast things that I had scheduled were at 8:30 in the morning, right? So all of our breakfast, you know, we're 8:30 in the morning. So we're essentially doing early entry every single day that we're here. Sunday, though, this Epcot day was not one of those days, though. We had lunch this day. So, but we tried to get into the virtual queue for Guardians, and we actually didn't get into the virtual queue at all. Filled up immediately. So
yeah, it's crazy fast, right? Like
yes.
you probably saw what I saw too, where it was like you hit refresh and all of a sudden it's like, thank you. It's like, what? Like,
yeah, wait, it's gone already, but how? Yeah. You know? And listen,
you didn't try for the 1 p.m. at all, or no?
We were going to, and then forgot.
Okay.
You know how it goes. Yeah. You're just walking around the park, and then you just kind of lose track of time. And I looked at my phone. I was like, "Oh no, it's 1:30. We forgot." You know, and the other part was we thought about buying a Lightning Lane, but we knew we were coming back to Epcot, so it was like, let's not spend the money today. Maybe we'll be able to get Guardians next time, and if we can't get it next time, then we'll pay for it, right? So we kind of just gave up on Guardians for that day. Like, it was just not going to happen, right? But we did buy Genie Plus that day. We actually, of the 7 days we were there, we only bought Genie Plus twice. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. It sounds crazy, but we only bought it twice. And so it was $19 for the day for Epcot. We specifically bought it so our kids could ride Frozen. I want to point out on this trip, because it's different than my usual trips. My daughter's 6, and the other kids that we were with were 2 and 3, right? So much of the trip was catering to the kids, right? Which is fine. Like, that's
absolutely
why you go to Disney most of the time. You're catering for those kids. But because of the age of the kids, we did a lot of things for them that we, you know, and didn't really get to do a lot of the things that we wanted to do that were, you know, a little more adult oriented, which is fine. Totally fine.
Yeah. And even for your daughter too, right? Like you would be limiting, like there would be certain things your daughter would have been able to do, but the younger kids wouldn't. So yeah,
exactly.
I get
exactly. That. So this was an interesting day at Epcot. It was also busy. We went over to Figment. Okay, so we started the day. We went over to see if we could meet Anna and Elsa in Norway, right? And the wait in the morning at 8:30 was 50 minutes. And I was like, that can't be right. So I go up to the cast member. I was like, is this really 50 minutes? She's like, yeah, it's really 50 minutes. And then she was like, but listen, in the mornings, this is a 50-minute wait. If you come in the afternoon, it'll be 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, that's a good tip. Didn't know that. And she was right. I mean, in the afternoon, it was a very short wait. We almost basically just walked right in and walked right out again. I mean, which is funny. But she said, yeah, World Showcase in the morning, character greetings, always very busy. In the afternoon, not busy.
Huh.
I don't know why that is. I can't think of a logical reason for that. But
yeah, that is, unless it's like people like doubling down because of like Ratatouille and stuff. Like there's like that initial rush for that. Maybe that would be my thought, is that like it's people kind of rope dropping stuff and then it falls off.
Yeah, and we also didn't do Ratatouille, right? Because that was again, it was like we basically, if we're not going to rope drop that, then we have to pay for that. Yeah. So we just decided, and again, her kids are a little too young for it, right? Like we were like, hey, do you want to do it? And she was like, no, not really. I think they're too young. So it was like, okay, and we split off and did our own things occasionally, but it was we tried to stay together for the most part. So we get to this year. This is going to be surprising to you, though. So we go over to Figment, right? And there's a line wrapped around the building for Figment. And I'm like,
whoa,
this is not going to be a good day if there's a line for Figment.
So, what do you mean there was a line?
There was a line. Well, it's so funny because, like, no joke, like we're standing in line and I think it maybe took us 20 minutes to get through the queue line. I'm like, I don't even know how this is possible. Like,
the ride doesn't load that quick either. Like
I know.
Huh.
But we're standing in line, and because we're standing in the queue, my wife's like looking at things. She's pointing stuff out. She goes, oh, that must be new. And I'm like, no, that's been there. We just never stand in the queue. Like we literally just never stand in the queue. So we never pay attention to the things around us, And I'm like, I don't think they put anything new in this queue for like 20 years. So like,
it's all like based on Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Yeah. It's got like the flubber stuff in that, it's all sorts of stuff. So we do Figment, eventually, and it goes through. Then we go and do, and by the way, the Frozen Genie Plus that we got, even though we bought Genie Plus right in the morning, wasn't until 2:40 in the afternoon.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, 2:40 in the afternoon. So then we have our Space 220 lunch, right? So we're set up for Space 220. So we go to do Space 220, and first of all, this is I think maybe my favorite part. The kids think we're really going into space, right? Which is great, right? Like I actually love that they think we're really going into space, right? Because it's like they're still at a point where they can, can believe those things. Like, you and I go, well, obviously there's no elevator coming out of the top of the building, so we're not going to space. And obviously we're just not going to space, right? Like, but the kids believed it, right? And
I did that with my son too. He kept asking me like, does this really go to space? And I was like, yeah, it does. Like there's a ship it's not a tower. It's like a ship that flies up there. And he was like,
okay.
Like,
sure. Yeah.
He didn't believe me because, Dad was trolling him, but yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
It was, but yeah, no, it's great that the kids, you can see their like, wonder around it. Right. Yeah.
Well, and just the whole getting up to the restaurant is such a show that they do, it's like, I mean, the floor rumbling and, the videos on top and bottom in the elevator and, like just the whole way they have it set up and they really stick to the bit. You know what I mean? Like they really stick to the, hey, you're going into space thing. Right. So we get up there and we got a great table right in front of the windows and the kids are like loving this, right? Like every time an astronaut comes by, they're like, oh, astronaut. Every time, a ship comes by, like they're pointing out everything throughout the entire meal, which was very cute. So eventually my daughter starts getting nervous and she's like, are we really in space? She says to my wife, right? And my wife goes, honey, we're not really in space. And then my daughter gets angry because she thought we were really in space. So it's fun. My wife was doing the right thing and trying to make her feel better, by telling her it wasn't. But then when she told her the truth, then she got mad because she really wanted to be in space.
That's such a hard thing to read, right? When they're nervous and it's like, do you tell them like what's actually going on, or do you the
total impossible parenting moment. There's no win.
You're not winning that one.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we had a great waiter, great experience at Space 220. The food was great there. We really had a good time. Everybody really, and of course we were bringing people there that hadn't been there before, so like my sister and brother-in-law and their kids were like really loved it. They just thought it was very cool, and like I've said this many times, Space 220 I think is the most unique dining experience you can do. I mean, maybe anywhere, I don't know, it's you can't do that anywhere else, right?
Yeah, it is all around just a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did Space 220, had our lunch. We get down from there. We go and do like some other things. We go do Moana. We did the Moana water thing, which was a lot of fun. I really liked that whole area. I will say it was packed. And it is
because
not
it's hot, right?
Yeah, it was packed, and it's not the biggest area, right? It's nice size, but it's like the walkways are not huge, right? So, but the kids loved playing with the water. They had a lot of fun with that, and that was cool. We went, to Living Seas, of course, and we actually, again, another thing we waited for was the Nemo ride there. Which again is not something you usually wait for because it's an Omni Mover ride. Like there were parts of the queue open that I didn't even know that we could go into. It was a weirdly busy day there.
Yeah, I've never like stopped in that queue. Like
that's what I'm saying. You just keep going, right? Yeah, it's crazy. We had snagged some Soarin' fast passes, and so we split up. So we had a couple of us go and do Soarin', and then a couple watch the kids. And we were going to do like a rider swap situation, but it just didn't end up working out. We ran out of time. So then we headed over to do Frozen, which the kids loved Frozen until the last part.
The last part?
The drop. The very small drop. Yeah. So all of the kids were having this great old time enjoying, Anna and Elsa. Like my daughter loves Anna and Elsa, and so does my niece. And so, they were loving it. And then we get to the drop, and both of them were just like, no, we're not, we don't like this. I have another amazing attraction photo from Frozen of all of the kids just like with, I say amazing, but they had just like these terrified looks on their face, like, it's just great. It's a great picture. But yeah, so we did that, and that was pretty fun. It's funny, we didn't walk all the way around the World Showcase like at all this entire trip. Like we pretty much stopped at like Norway, and we had some stuff in the morning. I forgot to mention we had some stuff from the bakery there in Norway. That was pretty good. But yeah, I think we pretty much stopped in Norway. And we didn't even go the other direction at any point. It just didn't happen this day or the other day. So at this point we kind of head back a little early. I want to say like 5:00 we head back to the resort. And, at that point, we didn't have a dinner scheduled. So it was like, we'll just grab the quick service that's at the resort. Right. Which was fine. It was actually pretty good. They were the Saratoga one. They make like pizzas there, and they like do them by hand. Like you can see them, flipping the dough and like.
Oh, so it's not like the flatbread thing, but actual like
no, pizza. It's real pizza. Yeah, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty decent. I liked it a lot. I will say one of the things I learned very quickly about that quick service is that they are extraordinarily slow. And so the next couple times we ordered from there, I clicked the I'm here button while I was still in my room. So, because by the time I got there, it would be done. But otherwise, that first meal, I waited like a half hour for. And
that's not exclusive to there, because I had the same thing at Captain Cook's in the Polynesian. I think it's just resort quick services are just slow. Like ironically, quick services are slow, but yeah, I get you. I did the same thing where I figured out it's like, hey, just click I'm here, and by the time I walk up there, it may be ready, or I'm still waiting 10 or 15 minutes. Like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they actually had to apologize to me to a bunch, because I might have been waiting there for 45 minutes. I was there for a long time. And so they felt really bad that I was there for so long. But I will say it's nice quick service. The food was pretty good. They had a nice little selection there. So, we enjoyed that. We, hung out in the room and all that, and went to bed. So, then we were rope dropping the next day. Right. So again, because we had an 8:30 breakfast. This is Monday. We had an 8:30 breakfast at Crystal Palace, which This is like my daughter's fourth time at Crystal Palace, and I honestly thought she'd be getting tired of it by now, but it was like she'd never been there before. She was still loves Crystal Palace.
Oh,
yeah, no, she loves
that's
it.
Great. And double down on that until they get tired of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So she absolutely loved Crystal Palace, and honestly, we like the food there. The food's pretty good. There were a couple things that we had there that were like, extraordinarily good. There was like oh gosh, they had a French toast there. It was really, really good. So, we had a good breakfast there. Characters were great, as always. We did try to get to the virtual queue for Tron, failed. So we failed at 2 virtual queues. We did get Genie Plus this day, which was $27 a person, which tells you how busy they were that day.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. A little bit rough. So it was a busy day. I mean, there was a lot of people around. We had specifically gotten Genie Plus because the other people in our group wanted to ride Peter Pan, and I like Peter Pan, so I'm happy to do that too. But we literally, again, it was another situation where we reserved it, and it was for $250 in the afternoon. We did it in the morning, and it was for $250. Peter Pan's a tough one, So we did a bunch of stuff. Good.
I was going to say the hard part is like because the kids are young, you can't really do the evening thing either.
Exactly.
Peter Pan. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the kids are pretty much done at 5. Like, we're done at 5. So I mean, and because the younger kids go to bed at 6:37, so we got to get them home, fed, bathed if need be, and so we really only have to 5 or 6 o'clock in the park. So $250 is kind of a limit. So we did a lot of stuff that day. Again, we didn't do Haunted Mansion, we didn't do Big Thunder, we didn't do Pirates, we didn't do Jungle Cruise, right? None of those things happened. Right. We did do, we did all of the kid type things, Small Worlds. We did, Ariel. We did Enchanted Tales with Belle, that cool thing. Did some stuff in Tomorrowland. Rode the train, all that. Actually, did we ride the train? No, we didn't ride the train. Take it back. We rode the train when it was just my wife and daughter and I. We didn't ride the train.
Oh, okay.
With
I was going to say, if you went the entire trip without riding the train, it would have been like...
Oh, no, please. No, I would never allow that. So our Peter Pan reservation was for $250. And so we were hanging out over at an Adventureland, right? And we were doing the Aladdin magic carpet thing, right? So first of all, I saw something I've never seen at a Disney park before. I knew that this is a thing that happens, but I've never seen it in person. So we are waiting in line for flying carpets, and Aladdin and Jasmine come out, and go onto the ride platform and start walking around and waving at people, standing in the ride platform. And then they hop in the back seat of one of the carpets and go on a ride with somebody. And I was like, I know this has happened before. I know they do this, but I've never seen this happen in person where characters went on a ride with people.
That's a new one in Florida. I've seen that a lot in Disneyland.
Yeah.
I don't recall ever seeing that happen in Florida.
I've never seen it. I mean, I've seen pictures of it before, of it happening, you see pictures sometimes of characters on Splash Mountain and but I just have never seen it in person. And it was just whoa, that's pretty cool. My daughter thought it was amazing. She's like, look, Aladdin and Jasmine are on the ride. I'm like, I know, it's pretty cool. Right. So that was a really neat thing. But then, we're right around 2 o'clock at this point. Right. And so I'm like, listen, I said to my wife, I was like, why don't we hang out in Frontierland? Right. And we'll just hang out for a little while, cool ourselves down, get some drinks, maybe a snack or something. And then we'll watch the parade from Frontierland because the parade was at 3. And then we have our Peter Pan, I want to say Fast Pass, but Lightning Lane at $250. So once the parade is done, we'll just walk right over to Peter Pan and do that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Makes sense.
So it does. I thought it made great sense. Our family decided to do that. And then the other family decided they didn't want to do that. So, which is fine.
Oh, no.
No, it's totally fine. Their concern was they had a 4 o'clock appointment to get haircuts done at the barbershop. And so they were worried that we couldn't watch the parade, go on Peter Pan, and then get to the front of the park by 4 o'clock, which it would have been cutting it a little close, but I still think we could have made it.
Your Peter Pan was at $250, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as
So
soon
you
as
had
yeah.
that was like an hour, and like you would have at most been in line on Peter Pan for like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
of the flighting lane. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So they split off. They went and did their own thing. We started hanging out, just on the parade route, like, scouting out a position. I'm going to tell you how hot it was there. Okay. So I don't know if you remember, in Frontierland, they have like these, they're almost like platforms that are like painted brown.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And people sit there. Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I saw people sleeping on them in February.
Oh yeah. It was so hot that sitting there, you couldn't even sit there because your butt was getting burned, like for real.
Yeah, because there's no shade. They just cook. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my wife and I just kind of dealt with it because we wanted to sit, but man, it was rough. It was really hot. So we watched the parade. The parade comes through. We did the whole thing where we followed the parade out, which I'm always a big fan of doing. So like as soon as the rope went by for the end of the parade, we just joined the parade.
Yeah.
So we just joined the parade, and then we walked our way over to Peter Pan. We had to throw some elbows and, hit some ankles with strollers to get through, but we got through eventually. Funny thing is my daughter's like, I don't want to do Peter Pan. And we're like, we're doing Peter Pan. Like we reserved it. We're doing Peter Pan. And she's like, okay, fine. So we did Peter Pan, magical as always. And we get off of Peter Pan, and my daughter's like, I'm going to do that again. And I'm like, I'm like, we can't do it again. She's like, why? And I'm like, there's a lot of reasons why, but mostly because it's an hour-long wait, and we're not doing that. But
we got other things to do.
We got other things to do, right? So this day we had only had a breakfast scheduled, right? So we decided to, again, we had split up, and we wanted to head back to the resort to maybe hang out at the pool for a little bit, because it was so hot. And so the other people in our group, they went and got their kids the haircut, and they decided to grab like a last minute dining reservation at Magic Kingdom. So they ate at Magic Kingdom. I think they ate at the Plaza, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I never heard how it ended up being, but we've eaten there before. It's fine,
Yeah.
We went back to the resort, and we got, what did we do on that day? I think we just did the quick service again, just to make it easy. But we also went to the pool, so Saratoga's got a bunch of pools, right? Like, they have pools basically in every section, and then they have the main pool. So we went to the pool that was by, like a 2-minute walk from our room, which was nice. They had a whole kids splash pad area that was closed because they were repainting it, which was kind of a bummer because I knew my daughter would have enjoyed that. And there was no slide or anything on the side pools. It's more just like a straightforward pool. Yeah. But they do have a little snack bar over there, like, with people, in it, like you can get drinks and, some small stuff. So we hung out in the pool for a little while, cooled down, had some dinner. And that was really it for our day there. So Tuesday, now we're on Tuesday. I should probably speed up because we're really far in and I'm only on Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple things. So we did Tusker House for breakfast. Again, we rope dropped. We did Tusker House for breakfast. Tusker House was great.
This was a new thing, right? You'd never done.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. So
this is Animal Kingdom. So we did Tusker House and it's character breakfast. It reminded me a lot of the breakfast that they serve over at Boma, which is at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which many people, including myself, consider to be the best buffet on property. Their breakfast buffet is fantastic at Boma. And we've done it many, many times. It's really, really good. Tusker House reminded me of that. It wasn't exactly that, but they had, like some African inspired dishes there. They had, some different things going on, but the character interactions were fantastic. We really loved it. It was, Donald, Mickey, Daisy, and Goofy. No Minnie for some reason. I don't know why. But it is what it is. So we went on the safari right after this, right? Because we were right there.
Yeah.
We waited a long time for this safari. Not a long, like it's a half hour, 45 minutes, right? Which was fine. And then we decided to walk over and do the bird show, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Something in flight.
Yeah. I can't remember. My wife's going to be mad I can't remember the name because it's her favorite show.
Yeah. Well, so I haven't done that show in a long time. My wife does not care for birds, so we tend to avoid it because we know that birds like fly right over your head, right? But we decided for the sake of the kids that we were going to do it, right? I just say that bird show is fantastic. I don't know why more people don't do it. It's fantastic.
No, don't say that, because then it'll get really busy. But it is a great show.
Well, it's funny because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law had a realization. They were like, wait, Animal Kingdom has alcohol, right? And they were like, we can go get a drink and like bring it into the bird show. I'm like, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do that. So that's what they did. They got some drinks, and so everybody had drinks except for me because I don't really drink. And so we watched the bird show. I got a really cool slow motion video of an owl flying overhead. Maybe I'll share that.
Awesome.
But literally flew right over my head, and I somehow got a slow-mo video of it. It was great. So we went and did the Finding Nemo show, which is the second time we've done it since it's been redone. Kids absolutely loved it. Really, really great as usual. We made our way over to Dinoland while a group of the adults splintered off to do Everest. So, a lot of this was, we weren't doing rider swap, but we were like, hey, you two parents go and take care of the 3 kids, and then 3 adults will go off and do something. You know what I mean? Like,
divide and conquer.
Yeah. So they actually decided to just do single rider, and they got on in like a couple minutes and we're off. Like it was fast. But during that time, we went over to Dinoland, and we went to the playground there, which my daughter, last time we tried to take her to the playground, I think she was a little overwhelmed. This time it was like, I think her favorite thing at Disney. We spent like hours in that playground. Like no joke, like hours. So
yeah, I can believe it. Those play areas are really underrated, I feel.
Oh yeah.
Like, people don't understand how huge they are for kids.
No, it was great. And she was like, super brave. I mean, there's like a third floor, like twisty slide that I'm like, there's no way my daughter's going to do that. And she's like, that's the first thing she did. And then we also went over to the dig site, which I've never been over to the dig site either. If you go over the little bridge, there's a little dig site. It's basically a giant sandbox, with buckets and brushes and everything. And we just had never been over there. I knew it existed. I just had never been there. And again, my daughter was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Right. So as this is all happening, it's getting later in the day. Right. And I'm noticing, as I do, I pull up wait times, and I'm starting to notice that the park is dead, completely dead. And what I mean by dead is that it was a 10-minute wait for the safari. There was literally no line for Triceratops Spin. And Avatar Flight of Passage was reporting 40-minute wait time. 40 minutes.
Whoa.
I don't think I've ever seen under an hour for Flight of Passage, like ever, right? And it was dead.
Considering it's the lightning lane in the park too. Like, yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. So, and then we noticed that Dinosaur was a 10-minute wait, right? So, we were like, okay, do we want to do Dinosaur since we're here and it's a 10-minute wait? And I was like, listen, I can take it or leave it. Like, I've done Dinosaur a bunch of times. Like, I don't feel the need to go on it right now. So if you guys want to go. So my sister-in-law and I stayed with the kids, and we went to Restaurantosaurus to get some food, because this was like, early afternoon, lunchtime kind of thing. And Restaurantosaurus is fine. It's not the greatest thing you've ever had. It's
basic.
Fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's, it'll do the job, right? It's the chicken fingers and hot dogs and burgers, So I will say this is the one place I got the tiniest bit of pixie dust on my trip. When I placed my original mobile order, I'd forgotten to get a fountain drink. And so I went back up to go get a drink for myself. And I had to wait in line for a little bit to get up there. Should have just done a mobile order for one fountain drink. That would have been funny. But I just decided to wait in line, and I get up there, and I was like, I just need a fountain drink. And she's like, you've been waiting in line for just a fountain drink? I was like, yeah, I just need a fountain drink. And she goes, wait a second. And she just walks over to the counter, and she goes, can I get a fountain drink cup? And then she just gives me the cup. So I was like, oh, nice. Okay, cool. Free drink. Take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So once we got done, once everybody got off Dinosaur, we all ate. And then we were like, hey, do we want to try to make Avatar happen? Like, 40-minute wait. Like, we could do rider swap. Like, let's go do it. So we walk ourselves all the way over to Avatar. We're getting our stuff together, right? We're trying to figure out, okay, who's going to go on now? Who's going to go on after? All that. And as we're waiting there, the time changes to 55 minutes. And
Oh, no.
I know it's only an additional 15 minutes, but there's some mental thing that happens there where it feels like
That's
hour.
like an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, right? Like
that's no longer 45 minutes. That's an hour. That's
exactly.
Deal breaker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we were like, okay, we're not doing it now. So like because it was getting late in the day, and Animal Kingdom I think closed at 6 or 7 that day, right? So it was starting to get late in the day, and we were like, it's hot. Like the kids are getting a little restless, right? So and they're not going to want to just wait around while we do Avatar because there's nothing for them to do. We were going to take them over to those little drums and have them play those, but how long can you really play drums for? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they're not doing the drum show at this point anymore either. I
don't
think
so. I don't think so.
There is the guy in the mech suit too, but again, it's very, very limited stuff for the kids to enjoy in Avatar land.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to try to get my daughter on a flight of passage too because she's tall enough now, but I don't. That didn't obviously happen. So, all right. So we decided to go back to the resort, and again hit up the pool. So we went to the pool for a little while, and then we decided to get dinner from. We all were kind of feeling pizza, So we got Flippers pizza. I don't know if you ever had Flippers.
Nope. Don't even know what that is.
Legit. It's like legit. It's a chain down there, right? And we had it previously, and I remembered it being pretty good. And so I ordered it, and we got it to the resort. And although the driver couldn't find the resort, which is crazy to me, because like if your store is right next to the resort, like I feel like those drivers have to be at Disney all the time. But neither here nor there.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, really good pizza, really legit pizza. So I definitely recommend them. So, all right. So continuing on here. Wednesday, Magic Kingdom Day. Early entry. We went to the Barnstormer first, believe it or not, because we were going to go to Jungle Cruise, but then on the bus I remembered that Adventureland is not open for early entry. So I was like, okay, well, so we have this half hour. What do we want to do with it? And the kids were like, we want to do Barnstormer. So I was like, okay. So we went on Barnstormer twice. And then we still had time. It was like 8:50, right? So we kind of hustled our way over to Adventureland, and there's a bunch of people waiting to get in, obviously. And so once they opened up, we went straight to Jungle Cruise. Got on Jungle Cruise in about 20 minutes because we knew that Jungle Cruise was going to, it's always a long line there.
Oh yeah, that's good though. 20-minute wait is pretty nice.
Well, yeah, because we rope dropped it, right? So
yeah.
And this day was a little interesting because we'd already done Magic Kingdom. Like it was kind of a shorter day. We just did a lot of the same stuff again. Like we did, Small World, we did Ariel, we did, things like that, for the kids, Dumbo, Barnstormer, those kinds of things. Probably the carpets again. We watched the parade though, again. So that was great. Got to watch the parade one more time because, it is a great parade. So we watched the parade. And then so this is kind of interesting. So we decided to leave the park early. So it was maybe like 3:00 or so. Mm-hmm. And again, we went to the pool because it was so hot. Like we just kind of kept leaving to go to the pool, hoping to go out later, So this night though was our Ohana dinner. And hadn't been to Ohana in a while, right? Ohana is like was one of our go-tos. We would always book Ohana every time we went. I don't think we ever have taken my daughter there. So it's been a while since we've been. So go to Ohana. So first of all, we have to take a bus back to my in-laws were like, how much time do we need to like get there? And I was like, yeah, we should probably leave an hour and a half early because we got a bus to Magic Kingdom and then we have to take the monorail and then we have to, So, and they were like, really that long? I was like, yeah, it's going to take that long. Right. So, and it did, but we got to take the monorail. We got to take a nice little ride on the monorail because the kids wanted to do that. And truthfully, I wanted to do that. So, so we go to Ohana and man, I don't know if I forgot how great Ohana is or if it's just, been a while, but I mean, first of all, we got placed by the window. So we had a table right in the corner of Ohana at the window. So we had an amazing view of the lake and the castle, which the kids loved that they could see Cinderella Castle from the table. Like they were losing their minds over that. Our waiter was fantastic. I think he was the best waiter we probably had at our entire time there. He was really fun, really funny, making good recommendations, like really great. And, the food comes out and, now it's family style. They don't come to your table anymore with like the skewers of meat and go, how much meat do you want? And then they, put it on your plate. They just don't do that anymore. Yeah.
They just bring out like plates of stuff. And it's like, if you want more, just say you want more.
Exactly. It's family style now. Right. So, I mean, but the wings are just as good as I remember. The noodles, the pot stickers, all that stuff. So good. Bread. So good. The meat came out and the meat was fantastic. Like, I don't remember this being so good. Like, everybody at the table is like dying at how good all this food is, right? We were like all just really loving the food. And then the dessert came, and they're known for their dessert there with the bread pudding and the ice cream and the caramel sauce they put on there. And we are all so full, like just so full because we'd eaten so much. But then, of course, we still ate more. You got to eat that dessert. That dessert is so good. It's impossible not to. And they brought out 2 plates of it. Like, we had so much. So, man, did we have a good time there? I did find out something that I did not know before. And I just kind of said to the waiter, I was like, hey, waiter, man, like, we've got all this food on the table. Like, I don't want to waste this food. Like, can we do takeout boxes? And he's like, oh, yeah, definitely. I was like, oh, really? Because normally, like buffets, you can't do takeout boxes, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, no, you can do takeout boxes. He's like, I'll bring you boxes. And I was like, oh, great. Like,
now you got snacks back at the room.
I mean, more than snacks, like whole meals. I mean, we had
lunch the next day. Yeah.
We had like an entire skillet of, of shrimp, like, because people ate some of them, but not a lot. So we had a ton of chicken. We had a ton of beef left. Like, we had so much food left.
Nice.
So, but I honestly did not know that you could take out food from there. I just didn't. And maybe this is a well-known thing, and I'm just wrong on like I just didn't know this.
I've never even considered that for like any sit-down meal, or like, yeah, like ones where like you order the dish, right? But like the family style ones, I never considered like, hey, can I get this to go? Right? Like,
yeah. And truthfully, the main reason I was doing it is because it was a lot of food, and I felt bad wasting it just generally. Right. Like, I was like, I don't want to waste all this delicious food. And, so I asked him, and then sure enough, and because, you have the full kitchen at the resort, it's like, yeah, why not? Because we'll be able to reheat it really easily. So we pack everything up. So this night we decide, part of the reason why we went back early this night is that we were going to go back for the fireworks for Happily Ever After. And so we decided to keep my daughter up for this. So this was a new experience. My daughter's never been up till 9:00 at night. I don't think. Maybe at her grandparents' house one time against my will, but neither here nor there. So we decided to go back to the parks at night. We did a couple rides, so like half our group split off, right? So the in-laws, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, niece and nephew, they went back to the resort. And their nanny decided to come with us and hang out with us for the night. Because she was off, I guess. And so she came and hang out with us and my daughter. We did a bunch of stuff. We did the Barnstormer a couple more times because, again, my daughter's obsessed now. Did Tomorrowland Speedway. We did where my daughter could drive because now she's tall enough to drive too. So she had fun with that. We did People Mover, Buzz Lightyear, stuff like that. Then we made our way to Main Street. We camped ourselves out basically in front of the Emporium. We decided we weren't going to do the hub, right?
Which I've learned. I actually watched a stream of the fireworks from the Main Street, and I know where this is going, and you made the right choice.
We did make the right choice. Yeah. Well, and if we truthfully, when it was just my wife and I, we would do the hub, right? Because we're in no rush to get home. Like, if it takes us an hour to get home, fine. But with my daughter there, we knew she was going to be tired. So we wanted a quick escape route. So, we probably have like a half hour to the to the fireworks. And my wife's like, why don't you take her into the Emporium and let her pick something out to buy, right? Thinking it's going to eat up a bunch of time. My daughter goes in, walks in, first thing she sees, she's like, ooh, I want that. And I'm like, okay, great.
5 minutes later.
Yeah. Which, by the way, and this is, I don't know why I've never realized this until now, and maybe I have and I just forgot. And I don't even know if you call this a hack, and I hate the whole hack term, but when you buy drinks, like a soda or water or a Powerade, if you buy it at one of the gift shops instead of one of the stands, you get your DVC discount on the drink. So if you just go to a regular stand that has drinks, you don't get a DVC discount. But if you buy them in the Emporium or any other gift shop, you get the discount on the drink because they treat it like merchandise, which I had never known before. And I said to my wife, I'm like, from now on, we just need to go into a gift shop and buy a drink instead of doing it at the carts. It's a couple bucks here and there, but
I wish I did. I wish I knew that because every time I've needed to buy a bottle of water for whatever reason. Yeah.
So there's a hack for you, for everybody out there. If you didn't know that,
noted. Yeah.
If you didn't know that, you can get it. If you have a blue card, you can get the DVC discount on drinks if you buy them from a merchandise location.
Yeah. Not the carts.
Yeah. I also want to mention my daughter. She's at this age, right? The first time we walked into Magic Kingdom, she looked at the castle and she goes, "Daddy, what's that cable that goes from, what's that rope that goes from the castle?" And she goes, "Is that what Tinkerbell uses to fly?" And I was like, "Come on, kid. like don't guess these things immediately and ruin the magic, okay?"
It's part of growing up, but yes.
So anyway, so we stayed for happily ever after. My daughter she doesn't love loud sounds. She gets a little thrown off by loud sounds sometimes. So we were a little concerned about fireworks. We didn't know how it was going to go. She was kind of in and out on it, right? So like I'd have her on my shoulders for a few minutes and she'd watch and then she'd want to get down because she didn't like the fireworks sound. And then she'd see something she liked like Moana and she'd want to get back up again and back down again. But we did that maybe 4 or 5 times. So we get to the end, Tinkerbell. I put her on my shoulders so she could see Tinkerbell. She saw Tinkerbell, finale of fireworks. Everything's over. First of all, too, watching on Main Street is cool now, too, because they do all the projections. They do the projection mapping on Main Street, which is very cool, actually.
Yeah, that's what I saw, and I realized how it really does make the show a lot better, right?
It does. Yeah, it's really cool. Literally, I took my daughter off my shoulders. We put her in the stroller, and she immediately passed out. Just out. Yeah. So, and because we had this exit strategy, and because I'm a little bit of a crazy person when it comes to walking. I walk fast in general, so I kind of weave in and out of people very well. So I was like, my wife's like, "Just go," and I was like, "All right, you asked for it.
I'll meet you there." Yeah,
I'll meet you there. I grab the stroller, and I'm just weaving in and out of people, weaving in and out. And we get to the line for the bus, and there's no line at all.
Nice.
And there's a bus sitting there, and I'm like, "Yes, like this is amazing." There's no one, right? So what happens? Is we get there, we get on the bus, and I have the stroller, of course. My daughter's asleep in the back of my wife. I got the stroller, but I got a nice little seat. I'm sitting in that area there. Mm-hmm. Well, a scooter comes up, and I have to vacate my seat. And then the bus, because the scooter came up, the amount of time that it took for the scooter to come on, a huge line accumulated. So we went from an empty bus where I'm sitting to an absolutely packed bus where I'm standing and holding the stroller. I was like, man, almost had it. Almost had a great ride back, but it was fine.
You could have just left before.
Yeah. I know. I was like, can you just go now? Can you leave now?
Yeah.
I know there's other people, but like just leave.
There'll be another bus. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. There's more buses, right? But of course, that's not how things work. So. Sorry, I got to take a drink of water here. I've been talking so much.
Yeah, all good, man.
All right, so Thursday, pool day. We went to the main pool at Saratoga. I met up with my friend who's a DVC cast member. We went to the little DVC member area there, which was nice. We spent 3 hours at the big pool, which the big pool at Saratoga is very, very nice. Really, really liked it. There's waterfalls. There's like rock features, with waterfalls. There's a cool kid splash area. They were doing all the activities. They had a big water slide. It was nice. We really liked it. Unfortunately, at this point, my wife had gotten sick. She was not feeling well. She had a cold. So she decided that she was going to rest, which, totally fine. So she rested. My daughter and I just went to the pool by ourselves. My in-laws, they decided to go to Disney Springs instead. So it was just my daughter and I, which was kind of a nice little dad-daughter day. We had some fun. And so we went to the main pool, and my daughter they had like a little kid slide there, right? And she's going down the little kid slide over and over. And she looks over at the big slide and she goes, "I want to do that." And I was like, okay, go do it. Right? Like, because I was shocked by this. My daughter, not necessarily the daredevil here, but she's like, "I want to do that." I'm like, okay, fine. So I was like, and I didn't walk her up there or anything. I just said, go I was like, it's Disney. She's not going to get kidnapped. Go. It's fine.
Yeah, you would hit the bottom, make sure that she comes off the bottom fine. Yep.
Exactly. So I stayed at the bottom, and because I thought she might be upset after going on it. So I wanted to be there to comfort her. So I was like, go up the stairs, follow all these people that are going down the slide, and, you'll get there. Right. So she comes down and she's like, this was the greatest thing ever. And then she spent like literally the next hour and a half going down the slide. And it's funny to me because like there were adults coming off the slide going, wow, that was pretty intense. And here's my daughter doing it over and over and over. And so I was very happy for her. She really enjoyed it. I just kind of hung in the water and stayed cool at the bottom of the pool, at the bottom of the slide. So, which was nice until, I got back to the room and realized that my shoulders, neck, and face got, just completely charred despite multiple applications of sunscreen. But it's when you're in the pool, like the sun reflects and
yeah, it's way worse.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But we had a great time in the pool. Don't get me wrong. So it was fun. This was adult night. So we had we left our kids behind, with the nanny, and we went to California Grill with just myself, my wife, and my brother and sister-in-law. And so we went to California Grill. I actually drove there. I told them, I was like, listen, we can take the bus to Magic Kingdom, and then we're going to have to walk. Like, why don't we just drive? We've got the car. Like, we'll just drive there. Make it easier, right? So we drove there, got there just in time for a reservation. We were like almost late, but we were good. Got a great table by the window, had an amazing view. Food was excellent. I am not, a foodie, Trevor, as you know, and California Grill is a little more bougie and fancy than, what I'm used to. But I was able to find things to eat. And, really, really good. Had like a white chocolate cherry creme brulee for dessert. It was awesome. It's really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, hey, let's go over to Top of the World, right? Like we're connected, let's go to Top of the World. So it used to be, I haven't been to Top of the World in a long time. Been a long time, maybe 7 or 8 years. Probably, again, since my daughter's been born. They used to check you in down in the lobby, and they would walk you to the elevator, and then you go up the elevator with the person, and then they would let you off, and that was it. Well, that changed. I don't know when that changed, but it's been a while. So like I said, it changed. So now they just like, oh yeah, just go to the elevators, take it to the 15th floor, and then the check-in is at the top of the elevator. I didn't love my experience. Go ahead, sorry.
That makes a little more sense because then
it does.
Yeah, you don't need people riding the elevator up and down. But yeah.
Yeah. I was a little frustrated by my experience at Top of the World, and I'll tell you why.
Oh,
we get up there, and she's like, well, we don't have any room inside for if you want to go inside, there's a 15-minute wait or 20-minute wait or whatever. And I'm like, that's fine. We can stay outside, and we'll go in and get drinks and bring them out here, and we'll watch the fireworks, whatever. And she was like, oh, well, you still have to wait to get to the bar. You have to wait because there's too many people in there. And I'm like looking in there, and I'm like, there's like 4 people at the bar. Like, what do you like? What's the deal here? And and so she was like, so 2 of our people went and got drinks, and then I went to go, and she's like, oh, you can't go into the bar right now. She's like, there's a line for the bar, and there was just like a little line, and there was like 10 people in line. I'm like, I'm not waiting a line for the bar out here. Like, I'm just not going to get a drink. I'm just going to go watch the fireworks. It just kind of annoyed me. Like, it wasn't super busy in there. It was, it was a little busy. It just was annoying.
I get what you're saying, but I have to wonder because I know that there's a whole thing with like code and the amount of cast members and stuff. And I have to wonder if it was, they probably didn't have enough staff for letting in more than a certain amount of people, which I know sounds crazy, but I kind of get where they're coming from. It's just hard because they don't really like they don't communicate stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, hey, we're low on staff tonight, so we can only let like 10 people in and stuff like that, right?
No,
like
100%. Yeah. But I didn't even get to go in and see the lounge. Like I didn't get to go in at all.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. Again, I don't care. I didn't need a drink. But I know what you're saying. It just was kind of annoying.
I get that's frustrating because you're like, I can just walk to the bar. Like,
yeah, like there's like 4 people. I think there was only 1 bartender there, so they were trying not to overwhelm the 1 bartender. But again, like at night during the fireworks, they should have 2 bartenders there at least.
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, we get up there. We're just kind of hanging out, looking at Magic Kingdom. First of all, Tron looks insane at night. Looks so cool, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Very cool. I don't know if everybody saw in the Facebook group, but I posted my favorite picture, which was from Top of the World. I got like the sunset with like this cool orangey sky, and then the park all lit up. it was awesome. So we watched the fireworks from up there. We watched, the fireworks, and I still say Top of the World is not my favorite place to watch the fireworks. I much prefer to be in the park and see, because when you're at Top of the World, the fireworks are misplaced, like they're way off to the right, whereas when you're in the park, they're in front of the castle. It's just perspective, obviously. But, and also I just like to see all the projections on the castle. I feel like that really makes the show. But, they pipe the music in, and, they had it loud this time. The last time we went, it was so low we couldn't hear it. So this time it was loud. That was great. So that was a great experience. We had a really great night. We hopped in my car, drove back to the resort. That was easy. So Friday, our last day, this is Epcot. My wife, again, was sick. She had gotten herself together to go to adult dinner and hang out, but she wanted to rest again, so she didn't come with us. We went to Akershus, right? The Akershus, whatever it is, which is the Princess Breakfast over in Norway. That was awesome. My daughter had a great time. There was Snow White, Ariel, Tiana, Aurora, and Belle there. We had not gotten to meet Tiana or Ariel or Snow White, I guess. We had met Aurora and Belle already. Just a different character meet and greets. So, and my daughter loves Tiana, so she was like really pumped for this. Food was great. We really liked it. It was pretty basic stuff, though. I mean, it was, sausage, eggs, bacon. There were some pastries involved, and
just basic breakfast fare.
Yeah, there was like a potato casserole that was really good, and then they had some like Norwegian stuff, like a fish spread and stuff like that. Whatever. It was fine. It was the food was great. I will say one thing that came up that I thought was interesting, and I had never heard before, is they said that the discount. So I said, hey, my wife's. I said, we have 8 people here. I've got the DVC discount because we did all the bills as one. I paid for everything, and then they paid me back, right? So we could do the discounts. And the waitress was like, "Oh, well, you only get the discount for 4 people per member."
Yeah,
and I was like,
"That I did know about." And
I didn't know usually, that. It's never come up before.
Yeah, because usually if there's 2 of you and you're both members, it's up to 8 people, so it usually doesn't come up, right?
But it didn't even come up at any of the other restaurants either. Like they just, and I was the only one that showed my ID. Although I will tell you, I also did not get. I would say 60% of the time I said I was DVC member, they did not check my DVC membership. They just said, I trust you. Which,
I guess, it kind of depends on cast members.
They've gotten very loose. Yeah, they've gotten very loose. Other ones will look, and got really close. But I said, listen, my wife, would have been here today, but she's sick. And she's like, oh, okay, well, let me talk to my manager. And she took care of it. So she ended up still doing it. So my daughter wanted to go on Spaceship Earth, which I was very proud of her for. She said, Daddy, I want to go on the ball ride. And I said, you want to go on the ball ride? Oh, let's go do that. Like, I will go on the ball ride anytime you wish. And I was like, oh, good. She likes that. Great. And also I haven't even talked about this. The whole middle of Epcot, unfortunately we didn't get back to Epcot at night. We had really planned to go back to Epcot at night, and it just didn't happen. Unfortunately. But
it's too bad. But it's still nice, right?
It's beautiful. Yeah. It's I like it better than what was there before. It is really a very pretty addition. I mean, it feels very like natural. You don't even feel like you're in a theme park, And we also saw some performers going on there. There were like some like really cool like performers doing like they were like spinning on like an orb thing. I don't know. It was kind of cool. But that whole area is very nice. I really like it. And honestly, the new buildings that are going to open up soon, like the aesthetic of those is incredible. Like the whole like triangle geodesic sphere thing, like that
it carries Spaceship Earth into like the rest of the buildings, right?
It does. Yeah. It looks really, really cool. And obviously those were not open yet, but there was that. We ate lunch at Connections, which you had mentioned that you love Connections. We went there, and all they really had was pizza and salads. And I was like, I feel like they had different things the last, but all they had was pizza and salads, which was fine. But it wasn't. I will say, Trevor, it wasn't our favorite quick service, but the pizza was fine. But pizza and salads. It was convenient, and I mean, I liked it. I like any pizza. I like trash pizza. I like really. I'm not picky with my pizza. So we ate at Connections, and then we also the part of my group wanted to do they wanted to try to do Guardians. We had gotten the virtual queue, but we had gotten 100 was our. No, wait.
So
it was actually 85 again. We got 85 twice. That's right.
Okay. So again, like later in the day kind of queue. Yeah.
So there was a lot of debate on whether we were actually going to do it or not, because it was later in the day and we were probably going to try to leave. And the queue at Guardians was slower than the queue at Tron. So this was getting towards like, I want to say like 5 o'clock or so. And, we were like, what are we going to do here? And so again, it was decided, I was like, listen, you guys go do Guardians. My daughter, I promised my daughter that I was going to take her back to the seas because she loves the dolphins there. So I'd promised her I was going to take her back. So I was like, listen, I'll take Autumn, my daughter. We're going to go to the living seas and you guys do whatever. And then we'll meet back at the Skyliner because we want to do a Skyliner ride, of course. Because they had never done it. They'd never done the Skyliner, right? So it's like, all right, well, we got to do that before you guys leave, your last day here. So we go to Living Seas, and I think my daughter and I spent a good hour and a half at Living Seas just watching the dolphins. So, I mean, literally just watching the dolphins, which is fine. It was fun. The dolphins are cool. And then we met up and we got on the Skyliner. We rode the Skyliner all the way to Hollywood Studios and back again. Which was, nice. It was very windy out that day. Very windy.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So, and I know that a lot of people might not love that situation on the Skyliner, but honestly, it wasn't bad. You could like see the gondolas like rocking back and forth, but being on it, I didn't really feel it.
Yeah, you don't feel like they swing a lot, but yeah, when you're on a gondola, and I know this from like other gondolas that I've ridden outside of Disney, is that it looks a lot worse than it feels. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I also have to mention too, my daughter's one of my daughter's new favorite things too is the quote unquote Donald boat ride, which I think we all know what that is. So the Grand Fiesta Tour. That's her.
Yeah. I was like Donald boat ride. Okay, yeah.
Donald's boat ride. Yes.
Yeah.
So she's like, I want to do the Donald boat ride again. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Like all these things that you're starting to love, the things that I love. So this is great. But yeah, so we did a bunch of those things and we did the Skyliner. We headed back and we're at this point, it's the end of the trip. So you're tired, your feet hurt, you're tired. It's hot. This was like the hottest day, I think, of the entire week. I think it was 98 degrees this day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little windy and overcast, but we didn't have rain the entire week, which was nice. And also kind of bad because rain would have been nice to cool things down a little bit. But so we just kind of we left Epcot probably around 5-6 o'clock. And at this point, we kind of had accumulated like a lot of leftovers in the room, so we decided to have leftovers. We had like leftover pizza. We had the leftover Ohana. We had all this stuff just sitting around the room. So we're like, let's just do leftovers at the resort. So that's what we did. So Saturday, the rest of our party left. They had an early flight in the morning. So, and we had one more day of tickets. So we decided to go to Hollywood Studios because we didn't do Hollywood Studios all week. But my daughter really wanted to ride Mickey Minnie, right? So we drove over. We got all of our bags. We packed our car up. We drove over. We went to, we parked and everything. We actually parked pretty close. The parking lot was not very full. It was pretty quiet, actually. So, but we did.
This is like well after May the 4th. So I feel like, Hollywood Studios would have been kind of dead.
Exactly. Yeah. So we did Midway Mania. Not Midway Mania. Sorry, we did that afterwards. We did Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Mm-hmm.
We did early entry. We queued up for that. And we didn't wait long, maybe like 20 minutes. And then, but that was just because they hadn't opened it for the day yet, right? So like it was still like once they opened it, we were in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like we were just in a long queue because they hadn't opened the inside yet. So we rode that, and my daughter's like, "Can we do that again?" And I'm like, "Well, if we're gonna do it again, we need to do it right now, right?" Because at that point, it was still early entry time, right? The park wasn't even open yet for regular guests.
Yeah, so I was like, still get on like 20-30 minutes. Kind of.
Exactly. So we got right back online. I think we maybe waited 15 minutes and went a second time. So that was great. Then we decided to go over to Toy Story Land. We had some breakfast over at the lunchbox there. I had some tachos that were delicious. Some breakfast tachos. My wife had a Pop-Tart.
So the lunchbox, I guess we talked about, it was decent? Like,
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I've eaten
okay.
there before.
All right.
The problem with the lunchbox is that there's the seating is very limited over there, right? So like you really have to be vigilant to get a seat to eat there. So, but no, I mean, it was like eggs, potato. Well, they call them potato barrels, right? Potato barrels, but they're tater tots. Eggs, and then a smoked brisket sauce, like a breakfast gravy sauce, but with smoked brisket instead of sausage. And honestly, it was really good. I enjoyed it, and my wife enjoyed her Pop-Tart, and my daughter didn't want anything. So that we went and did Toy Story Midway Mania, which we waited, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes for. Not too bad. I got 212,600 was my score, which was best in vehicle.
I find funny that you remember exactly your score.
So the funny thing is that my wife always goes, after we get off, if like she's riding with my daughter and not with me, she goes best in vehicle again. I was like, yep. It kind of bothers me they can't read our magic bands and put your name on the score, like next to the scores. You know what I mean? Like they should be able to do that. Anyway.
Like first name or something, yeah.
Yeah, and so I know somebody's going to write and be like, oh, that's a terrible score. And I was like, yeah, it probably was. My hand was getting a little tired, to be honest with you. But I still got best in vehicle, so I'll take it. So we did Midway Mania. We went to Alien Swirling Saucers. We did a ride on that because it's fun. It's a fun ride, and my daughter likes it. And, you just kind of laugh on that ride. We waited probably 20, 25 minutes for that. And then we decided to ride the Skyliner one last time. We rode it all the way to Epcot. Got back off, got back on again, rode it all the way back to Hollywood Studios, and then we left. That was it. We ended with the Skyliner. So, yeah, it was great. It was a great trip. We didn't do a lot of the things we normally do, right? Like, so like I didn't get to do Haunted Mansion, didn't get to do Big Thunder, didn't get to do, even like stuff like Living with the Land we were going to do and just never got around to it, I mean,
it was a different trip because, like you said, you were with a larger party, and also it sounded like your daughter was kind of figuring out like new stuff too, right? So it's like, I get that. You can't always assume it's going to be the same trip every time.
No, honestly, and this trip was great. I don't want to get sappy about this, but my niece and nephew live in New Jersey and we live in North Carolina, so we don't get to see each other very often, right? Mm-hmm. And so to get the time to spend a week with my niece and nephew, and for my daughter to get to spend time with her cousins, was invaluable. It didn't even matter what we were doing, just seeing my daughter be, like with her cousins. It was worth the trip. I mean, honestly, that was the best part of the trip for all of us, was just seeing the kids together and getting to spend time with each other, because we just don't get to do that. So, it almost didn't matter what we did,
and
it was.
I can vouch for this because I had, so like when I was a kid, I have great memories of going with my cousins to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And your daughter and her cousins, in 20 years, they're going to talk about, remember when we were in Disneyland and this, or, in Disney World and this thing happened? Like, yeah, it's exactly that, right? It's just great memories for them for, when they're older and,
I think my daughter will remember a lot from this trip. So, I mean, yeah, it was great. So listen, I've talked for an hour and 20 minutes. Maybe we should go ahead and do the ad, and then we can talk about some other things.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say I'm a little sad that
I didn't do Tron or Guardians. I know.
Yeah, I was really hoping you were going to do Guardians, but
it just didn't work out.
Yeah, it's too bad. I know you're worried about how you would feel on it, but I feel like you would just love Guardians.
I think I could do Guardians. Honestly, Guardians was I was thinking I would do it. But it just didn't work out. Like, and honestly, my priority was my daughter. So when I promised her to go back to Living Seas, I was like, if I don't go now, where it's not going to happen. And I'm not in the business of breaking promises to my daughter. So,
totally.
I just prioritized it over me. So,
yeah, I 100% get that. Like I would, I'm the same way with my kid is, I'll put him first before anything else that I want to do, especially on a Disney trip. But
exactly.
Like I said, I was in the back of my head, I was hoping that you were going to say like, we actually got on Guardians, but next trip.
Sorry to disappoint everybody. Listen, there were a lot of, I didn't get to ride my two favorite rides at all. We went to Magic Kingdom 3 times and I didn't get to do Haunted Mansion or Big Thunder once. So, I mean, It is what it is, right?
Sometimes it is just that trip, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just
all right.
happened,
So since you've been talking for a long time, I will take care of the ad here and give you a break, and then we can talk. We have a couple of news things afterwards, so hang around for that. But yeah, we'll start with our sponsor this week, which is DVC Resale Market. DVC Resale Market, a world of DVC companies, is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere, with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2023, DVC Resale Market helped over 4,400 families join or add on to their memberships. Go to dvcresalemarket.com/welcome home or call 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 382-7767. And when you do speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you.
All right. Thank you for giving me a chance to take a drink of water.
Yes.
I've talked too much. But some things happened while I was gone, though. And one of the things that happened is, and honestly, Trevor, when we went by on the monorail, when we went by the new tower at the Poly, I said to my wife, I was like, this thing's almost done. Like, it's looking pretty good.
Close. Yeah.
And you can see it from far away. That thing is huge. It is so tall, like you could see it from Magic Kingdom. Because at one point we were standing waiting for the bus, and my wife's like, "What is that big building over there?" I was like, "Oh, that's the new Poly Tower." She's like, "Really?" I think it's just because it towers so high over the Poly itself.
Yeah. The Poly's very flat and low, and then it's the thing is I think when you look at it, it's actually taller than the Grand Floridian buildings as well. So I think that's what makes it even crazier, is that it's like the Grand Floridian's not a small building either. So the Poly Towers are really big. Yeah, it's 10 stories, right? So we got some new details. It's going to be called the Island Tower at Disney's Polynesian Villas and Bungalows. So that's a really long name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. The acronym is ITDPBB.
I was just thinking that. What's the acronym that everyone's going to use for this? Is it just going to be ITP maybe?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I would just say, the Island Tower.
Yeah. Just call it the Island Tower. IT.
Oh, you're staying at the Island Tower? Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah. Great. I have to say, Trevor, I know that you guys are, purists when it comes to Poly, but seeing this concept art, I want to stay here. It looks incredible. So here's the interesting thing. And yes, I agree. Yeah. The lobby and everything looks fantastic. Like the woodwork and the design, it's absolutely Polynesian. And, I feel it carries through like it won't feel like a separate thing from the rest of the Polynesian resort. It does definitely add on to it. I was reading about the different room types available at the Island Tower, and there is no standard, or there's no deluxe studios in the tower. There's the duo studios, and then it's like 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. Which so the funny thing is for me is that I stay in studios. So the Poly Tower is like, or the Island Tower is like, I don't really have any reason to stay there. I mean, I'm not going to say I'll never stay there, because I've been battering around looking at a duo studio in Disneyland. So we're actually talking about going to Disneyland, and I was thinking we might try staying at a duo studio in the Disneyland Tower. So maybe I would do the same thing at the Island Tower. But the nice thing about staying at the Poly is that I understand there's going to be a restaurant and stuff here. So, it's absolutely something that I could stay at a standard studio and still go check out this whole area, which, like you said, it's ramping up to be I know when they started building it, people were complaining it looked like a bit of an eyesore, but it feels like it's going to be a great addition to the area when it's done. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, honestly, the concept art they have of the lobby is stunning. I mean, it looks like a 5-star resort. I mean, it's gorgeous. which should, for DVC, it's a deluxe resort. Now they are saying projected to open December 2024. So, just like 6 months or so here, or 7 months, from now, and which is great. And a lot of the, like I said, when I saw it, I mean, I don't know what the inside looks like, but the outside is getting close to being done. But they mentioned preserved moss walls, sculptures made out of recycled fishing nets, all sorts of kind of cool, these cool Imagineer touches. But they are going to have people be able to start making reservations, but not with points. So with cash. June 4th, June 5th as DVC members and annual pass holders. And then all guests can make reservations online June 6th. So even though we're not done until December, people can start making reservations soon with on cash, not on points, right? It's important to note that.
Yeah, which that's kind of interesting that they're starting with cash rentals, because I thought this was going to be entirely DVC rooms, which I thought all got booked via points, but I guess there are still cash rooms that can get booked.
Yeah, there is a certain amount of inventory at all the DVC resorts that are cash. I think it's just because of the nature of the timeshares. Like they can't start. You can't book rooms on points because there are no points technically available at that resort yet, right?
Until they're released. But
exactly.
But then, you could still book a cash room because that doesn't fall under the same requirements.
Exactly. So you could, exactly. So until they start selling some points there, But I mean, I was curious to see if now seeing this concept art and seeing the video and the details, if like you are like more interested in staying here now, because I know you weren't before, really.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the big turnoff was there's no standard studios, which for my family doesn't. Studios are the right size for us. So it's like, well, when I read what the spread of the rooms was, I'm like, well, I'm just staying at the regular, poly rooms anyway. But like I said, I think the big thing that I'm thinking about is, the duo studios, because of the fact that I'm coming up quicker on that phase of no longer traveling with my kids on every trip a lot quicker. That, because we've talked about this with Damon in the past, that he's his kids are getting older and they're starting to not they're not always necessarily all going to go on trips together. Because I only have one, I'm getting there a lot quicker, and we're already exploring that. Hey, could we just these duo studio rooms do look pretty appealing because they are lower point values than most. And because of that, we could actually have a longer trip and stay in a duo studio. So yeah, the fact that that's going to be an option at the Poly, which, again, assuming that this all just gets rolled into the existing Poly contracts means, it's not off the table that I would never say I'll never stay at the Island Tower. It's just going to be, does the situation arise where it makes sense? And that kind of on the flip side, like one bedrooms, it's like, yeah, that sounds great. But I think for me, it's like I would either stay in a studio or it would be like a 2-bedroom if I was traveling with extended family. And there's no reason for me to stay in a 1-bedroom, which I know a lot of the tower is 1-bedrooms.
Well, it's interesting because just when we were talking about this, Trevor, I'm thinking to myself, well, why didn't they put studios in there? And I'm like, oh, well, this is obvious, right? Because the Poly as it is with DVC rooms is only studios, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're looking at this as, if you want to stay in a studio, you stay in the original buildings. If you want to do anything besides the studio, we have this new tower that fills all of the other room categories that we don't have at the original Poly, right?
Yeah, which I think for a lot of people was kind of not a complaint about the Poly, but definitely a downside, was that it's like, well, my family wants to do, 2 bedrooms or whatever. And it was like the choices at the Poly were either studios or the bungalows, which is,
exactly,
it's a huge jump. So yeah, they're finding that middle ground. And then also, like I said, the duo studios they're very interesting because I see that as, Disney is acknowledging that, as much as DVC is, a lot of it's focused at, bring your family, it's going to be a family group and a bunch of people, is that there is also a market for couples staying at DVC. Yeah. And the duo studios are a great fit for that. And like I said, for my situation is, I'm not I'm not opposed to the idea of, just like getting a duo studio and being able to, maybe stay there an extra couple of days because the duo studios are cheaper, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that they thought about this and said, well, like the old Poly just has all the deluxe rooms, and then we just won't do any deluxe studio rooms in the new tower. We'll just do everything but. It makes sense. It makes total sense because now you can stay in every room category at the Poly, right? Whereas you couldn't do that.
I still get my 11-month window, so.
Yeah, you still get your 11-month window. That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this makes me want to stay there, honestly. I can see us staying there sometime soon. And honestly, when my wife saw the pictures of this, she goes, "Ooh, we should stay there." And I'm like, okay, like we can. But of course there's going to be some really nice views from this resort too. Cause I mean, there's going to be amazing reviews. I mean, views. I mean, and if you're not getting a theme park view though, you're going to be getting a monorail view, which is not bad for some people either. I don't mind looking at the monorail. So
yeah, I mean the back side of where that resort sits, like it looks out over. I guess the difference is like there's the monorail view, but it's like there's a road and then it's like there's like shades of green is behind there, which is really like mostly you're just seeing trees and maybe part of the golf course and whatnot. So like you said, there's really not a bad view. It's not like I would say honestly the worst view at the Poly is if you stay in Pago Pago. Some of the rooms just look over the parking lot of the Poly, which again, not a bad thing by any means, but when you have all these other amazing views and it's like, and then there's the parking lot, like, yeah, it doesn't feel great. But then, yeah, for the tower, it's like the tower is going to be like, you're either looking at the theme park or you're looking out at just like trees and stuff like that, which, yeah, like you said, there really is no like bad view from that tower.
It kind of reminds me of so I've only stayed at Bay Lake, which is my home resort once, but Bay Lake doesn't really have a bad view, right? Like if you don't have the theme park view, you have a view of the lake, right? Like, I mean, you have a view of Bay Lake, right? So it's like you either get this gorgeous lake view or you get this cool view of, the park. You might not get to see Magic Kingdom, but you get the view of the lagoon, you get the view of the monorail coming out of the Contemporary. Like it's still an amazing view, So yeah. I think that's kind of the same with this tower.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see when we can actually book stuff there. But like I said, I'm not going to stay there anytime soon, but it's not it's not out of the realm of possibility for me.
Okay.
So yeah,
stay soon at the ITDPVB.
Yeah, exactly.
ITDPVB.
Yeah. I
feel like it's just going to be ITPV. Like that's where it's going to end up, right?
Or it'll just be it has to be like the ITP or something like that. Because if you just call it the IT, are you staying at the IT? Like
you got to throw the villas in there too, right? Like, well, I feel like some of the names we throw villas in, right? Like, but
I feel like Island Tower Polynesian, makes sense to me.
ITP
like that. Because it's always like the three-letter acronyms kind of seem to work, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Tiana's, which I went by on the train and got a nice look at the queue. I mean, everything is coming along here. They've obviously been testing it, and now we have an opening date. I'm trying to remember when we talked about that rumor a couple episodes ago. What was the date that was on the? Was it 6/28 was on the license plate?
No, it wasn't on that. No, that wasn't it.
That's
it was like June 15th or something like that. Was what was speculated. So no, yeah, the plate had nothing to do with it. So
well, it's got to have something to do with something. I feel like, right? I mean, it has to stand for something that we just haven't figured out yet.
Yeah, I mean, but it could be just an inside joke that we have no clue about either, right? So
that could be.
But so yeah, Tiana's opens June 28th. Something to note with this that I thought kind of interesting was that so it's going to have a virtual queue. So like Tron, there will be a virtual queue for it, which is fine. It's not going to be an individual lightning lane though. It's actually going to be part of Genie Plus. So
interesting.
That's going to make for I think for the first little while, Genie Plus is going to be a very interesting prospect because, a lot of people are going to be using it for Tianas, which means I wouldn't be surprised if, over the summer you hear people complaining about Genie Plus selling out very early in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
The same as the Lightning lanes do, because a lot of people are going to be using it for Tianas, right? But both of these things, though, I think I'm glad that they realized all this and didn't just make it the standard queue. Because although like Splash Mountain or Tiana's Bayou Adventure, has a lot of space for queue, which is great, but because this is something new again, I remember times where like the queue was like wrapped around Splash Mountain and going like towards Pecos Bills, kind of thing. And I'm glad that they're more utilizing the virtual queue in Genie Plus, that it'll make that area not quite so chaotic, I feel, because that area is kind of tight as it is. Like there's, what it's like, when you're going over the bridge towards like Big Thunder and stuff, where it's like, if it's really busy, like getting through that area is a nightmare. And I'm just glad that they didn't just like open it back up and be like, oh yeah, here's new ride, but the queue's still there or whatever. So I expect that it'll be like, I don't know how long they'll virtual queue it for, though. That's the only thing I'm wondering. They're saying
they expect a standby queue to open soon after the attraction's opening. So it seems like they're just doing this in the very beginning for me. I mean, maybe a couple of weeks. Maybe a couple of weeks or for a month, or I guess, like you said, the hype, right? So once the hype dies down and you have more of a normal crowd, they'll probably get rid of the virtual queue, like they did with like Rise of the Resistance, right? They had virtual queue there for a long time, but now we're back to standby. Right.
Yeah. I feel like because it's opening right as the summer's starting here, it's like the virtual queue will probably carry over the summer at the very least. Like I could see it switching back in like September, October timeframe.
Well, and I don't think Disney's ever going to open a new ride anymore without the virtual queue, right? At first. Part of the reason they do it is not only because of the crowds, but also because, new rides tend to break down a lot. Like they test it a lot, but there's things they don't foresee. And there's a lot of breakdown time. And so the virtual queue really helps with that, because you don't have people standing in line for 10 hours, and then have the ride breakdown and be like, hey, that 10 hours you just wasted in line. Sorry, ride's broken. It helps a lot with those kinds of things. And that's why I think they're never going to open a new ride anymore without the virtual queue, at least at first. And in this case, they obviously expect it to only be for a little bit. And then after that, probably because it's an existing ride, right? It's an existing, like the actual ride itself has not changed at all. It's just all the surroundings changed, right? So they probably aren't concerned that much about operational issues, I would think.
You're right. I feel like, the amount of breakdowns that happened for Splash Mountain were not substantial. So yeah, you're right that they're not as concerned about that. And, I would hope that, they would, as they were fixing up the ride for this, they've also gone through and made sure that systems are, generally in good shape and whatnot. So I would, again, to minimize breakdowns. But the only thing I'm wondering is how much how underestimated this is going to be for, even though it's the same ride, the fact that it's Tiana's Bayou Adventure and the fact that there's all these new animatronics and stuff in there, this could end up being another like Frozen type thing where, when they did Frozen, it was like I was surprised for how long Frozen just seemed to have like crazy wait times.
It still does.
Well, I feel they've calmed down. It's busy. But there was a point where it was like, I guess it was before Guardians and everything.
Like and Ratatouille and all that.
I feel like this is going to be another one of these until the next thing opens up in Magic Kingdom that's going to be just really popular, regardless of the virtual queue.
I also, I don't know, Trevor, have you seen pictures? People have been posting pictures and videos of the nighttime lighting package they're going to have in this thing. It looks incredible.
I've not seen those.
Oh, you got to look that up, man. It looks
okay. I'll have to check
awesome.
that out after this.
I mean, they obviously really upgraded the lighting here. It's filled with color. It looks like it's going to be amazing to ride this at night. And that's, no offense to Splash Mountain, but they obviously did a lot of work on the lighting here and making it look extraordinarily cool at night. I feel like they revamped this ride photo a little bit too. It that technology they have for Tron where they get that perfectly clear picture even though you're going 65 miles per hour,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a much clearer picture, and they're it's kind of the same thing. It looks obviously a little bit different, but
The only thing I don't like about the ride photo, to be honest, is that it feels a little overproduced.
Because you're put into like a cartoon. Is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah, like it's like the ride vehicle, and then like the rest of it doesn't look like you're actually
that's fair
on the ride. Which I get they're trying to one up it and make it impressive and all that, but I don't know. I feel like sometimes just let the photo speak for itself. You don't have to like do a bunch of post production stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you looked up any of the things at night, but there's some. I could send you some links. But if you just Google, nighttime Bayou at night, Tiana's Bayou Adventure at night, you'll get a lot of pictures. It just looks really, really cool. So the other thing, they're going to have beignets at the Golden Oak Outpost and Friar's Nook. It looks like for the time being. So that's pretty cool. And then I also read somewhere, this is not officially from Disney, but I read that Disney's going to be piping the smell of beignets into the queue area and the general area. So,
I wouldn't be surprised, especially like after we talked about that Sensi thing they were doing in Toontown,
which I did not smell the Smellephants while I was there. I didn't smell the Smellephants at all. So I don't know. Maybe they just weren't up yet. I don't know. But
right, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, if the whole area just smells like beignets all day long.
Listen, I'm okay with that.
Totally.
Beignets smell delicious.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Trevor, I'm going to say we're really, getting close to 2 hours here. So I think we should skip over the drone show. If you haven't seen the drone show that's coming to Disney Springs, they put out a little preview and you can see a video of it. It looks very cool. Mm-hmm. I was interested to see things like the Rocketeer represented, which was a thing from my childhood.
That's a weird reference.
It really is, man. I don't know why they have that in there. I think I saw that. I could be misremembering it, but there was a really cool up section. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there. So check that out. I think the biggest thing that people have been talking about since I was gone here is the opening of Fantasy Springs over at Tokyo DisneySea, and the Tangled and Frozen rides that I hate to say this because the Peter Pan ride is also there, but I have not seen anything about Peter Pan and I have not watched it yet. So because I think maybe it's just getting really overshadowed by how great the other two rides are.
So I've seen a little bit of the Peter Pan thing, and it plays like it's like the Spider-Man ride in California Adventure, where I think it's a lot of screens. It's not
okay.
So I think the big difference is that like the Peter Pan ride is okay, but these other two rides, the animatronics and just the visuals, because of the fact that they're very heavily animatronic based rides, there's been a lot of reactions to it. Like same as you, as I've been looking at them both and going like, wow, I would really love to go to Tokyo Disney right now and check out the Frozen ride there, because like, I'm sorry, but like I saw a couple of side-by-sides from
somebody stitched them together of the Epcot
from
one.
Epcot and it's, oh my gosh, the animatronics are so much better. And I really hope that the Fantasy Springs one, it would be nice if at some point they're like, oh yeah, we're going to upgrade the animatronics in Epcot and get them like on the same level as the ones in Tokyo.
Well, I also, they're incredible. There's a couple things in that ride that are incredible, like, because it tells the whole Frozen story, right? So there's the part where like Elsa freaks out and freezes everything, and then like in the ride, like ice comes up from the ground. All of a sudden, it looks so cool. And but the one that I've been seeing getting a lot of play, and this rivals, I think, the Beauty and the Beast one. I don't know if you've seen the Beauty and the Beast one, where they have the animatronic beast turn into an animatronic prince, and I've seen it so many times, and I cannot tell you how they do it. I have no idea. It is like magic. Similarly, in the Frozen ride, they have a scene where the Anna animatronic is frozen.
Animatronic.
Anna animatronic is frozen. Her cape is up in the air and she is frozen solid, like at the end of the movie. And then they unfreeze her. The cape falls down naturally, like a cape would fall down, and she comes down. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how they do it.
Yeah. It's so like clean, right?
It's like natural. Like the 1 second the cape is like frozen, and then the next it's just a regular cape. And if you haven't seen this, Google it because it is all over social media and stuff. Like
I've seen so many like shorts of it and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the Frozen ride is more impressive than the Tangled ride. The Tangled ride is cool, but the Frozen one has so many cool things in it. Just so many of the effects, and they have that thing where they like are making it like when Elsa's doing like the ice magic, like where they're animating in like air in the air, like it looks like actual magic floating through the air. You know what I mean? Like it's
there's like the magic flowing around her, and then the the way the room like they projected like the ice freezing across the room, like it looks very much like the movie.
I mean, I like to believe that this is what they would have done in at Disney World if they had known that Frozen was going to be a success and had built a ride from scratch, right? Like this is what they would have done. But instead they had to scramble because they didn't know Frozen was going to be a success. And there was like, we got to get Frozen in the parks like right now. And so they ended up reutilizing an existing ride system, right? Which, you know, listen, it was a short-term thing that they wanted to get it done as quickly as possible. Fine. But obviously building it from scratch like this, they did such an incredible job that like, and I know this is a constant thing, right? Where we're like, Tokyo gets all the nice things, or like Shanghai gets all the nice things, and we get all the not nice things. And we've talked about the reason before, right? Is, you know, Disney doesn't own those parks completely. They split them with
budget.
So their budgets are
very different. Yeah.
Yes, they have billions of dollars to work with over there, and they don't like spending that money here. So they go all out at those parks because they can, right? I mean, because if you watch like Imagineering Story, they talk about this where the Imagineers that get assigned to the Asian parks are excited because they basically have as much budget as they want. Whereas here, you know, Disney's a little more frugal and has cuts and things like that. The Asian parks, they don't really do that. They blow it out, you know?
But I'm going to use this as our segue right now. You're right. But
things are changing.
the last thing that we want to talk about here before we're done, because I know this is going to be a longer episode, and that's fine. But we saw that Disneyland Forward has gotten final approval. So the Anaheim City Council was given the final green light on Disneyland Forward. So there was some news that came out about that. And so the interesting thing is all the stuff that's happened at Fantasy Springs, like you said, that's kind of like the playground for Imagineering and for, you know, being able to do these really big, impressive things. We now have, there's a project going on at Disneyland. And I know, you know, for Florida, it's like, well, how does this apply to Florida? But I think specifically around the Frozen ride, there is definitely a lot of room for improvement, as we saw from the stuff that they're doing in Fantasy Springs. I feel, you know, they can bring some of that stuff into the Epcot ride, but Disneyland Forward, they're showing off like, you know, they're implying Neverland. They're actually like, I feel like I don't want an exact copy of Fantasy Springs necessarily, but actually I kind of do.
I mean, because it looks incredible.
And you know, seeing stuff like that and knowing now that like, and you know, Disneyland Forward, it's still a long, like, this is not like coming next year or anything, but the potential there, you know, knowing that all of these new animatronics, all of these new things have been built in parks around the world, this may be the opportunity to actually bring them to the States and have, you know, as we're sitting here, you know, looking at, you know, how did they do that thing with Anna's cape and everything? We may actually get to see that, you know, kind of like what they did with Tron, right? You know, where Tron was built originally in Shanghai and then they brought it to Florida, and same with Ratatouille from Disneyland Paris. Like Disneyland Forward finally having the green light. I'm super excited to see how that's going to, how the park expansions are actually going to play out, because they could do it, you know, one of two ways where, you know, it's, you know, budget wise, they could just, you know, resource the stuff from like Fantasy Springs and whatnot, or this also goes back to talking about Bob Iger talking about they have a ton of money slated for park improvements over the next 10 years. Is this where they actually get the budget to kind of like in the Asian parks to really like do something like get that like free domain to do whatever as an Imagineer, right? Which means at the end of that means we get something that is not just another carbon copy ride or whatever, but something like really impressive and innovative again, right? So yeah,
and I mean,
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
If you go on the Disneyland Forward website, right? Like they actually show the Tangled Land, they show the Peter Pan, they show Frozen, they show Zootopia, they show Toy Story, they show Tron. Like, and they're just saying like, these are some of the possibilities. And one of the interesting things here is that they really haven't announced anything for Disneyland Forward except for Avatar. And apparently, this has been now like confirmed by Iger that that's going to be the first thing. Like they're going to start working on Avatar, like, soon. So like, that's the first, that one is confirmed. They're going to do the Avatar experience and that's going to be done. And I mean, this is, he actually just said the other day, Iger just said the other day, we just got approval from the city of Anaheim for the biggest expansion of Disneyland since we opened DCA in 2001. It's a huge expansion. We haven't been specific about what's going in it except for Avatar. So I mean,
there you go.
He's telling you right there that's
the first step.
Pandora is going to be the first project to break ground, right? Like that's what's going to happen.
But again, to that point is, I'm not expecting that to just be a clone of Pandora in Florida.
No,
like
not based on the concept art. The concept looks completely different.
Yeah, exactly. They are like they're not just planning to copy some rides and put it in. Like there is going to be opportunity for expansion, trying new stuff and everything. But I said, I'll be honest, if they just copied Fantasy Springs and brought it over to California, I would not be mad at all. Like from what I've seen of these rides in Fantasy Springs, it's like, yeah, you could just, bring that over here and then I just don't have to book a trip to Tokyo, which I may do anyway, but
you may do anyway, but yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, and Tokyo DisneySea is seen by a lot of people as the best Disney park. Like this, it's considered by many to be the best.
My brother's been there and he can vouch that it was a pretty amazing experience as far as Disney parks go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So listen, we're almost at 2 hours here, so I'm sure we could talk about this stuff for like another hour. So just suffice to say, I mean, I don't think it was in doubt that Anaheim was going to approve this expansion, but I think, we've been talking about this a lot. This is going to be a year of announcements in the second half of the year. We're going to hear a lot of what's coming and they're going to start building things. And, we got to wait a couple of years, but there's going to be new things in the pipeline. And we're going to have new things to check out. I think probably every year. I mean, that's what they've been trying to do is have a new thing every year, even at Disney World. Like we got Tiana this year and next year we'll have the new test track, right? And something else, maybe, I don't know, who knows? So
it's just going to be nice to like, it's not like I'm expecting any of these things to open, but like you said, knowing that there's stuff in the pipeline and knowing that it's like, oh, in a couple of years, I'll be able to check out this thing. And like you said, as you're booking trips, as DVC booking trips yearly, you kind of like, you always have something to look forward to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's wrap this thing up. I think this was good. I hope everybody enjoyed my trip report. I enjoyed my trip. So
yeah, I enjoyed hearing about your trips. So thank you for sharing that. And obviously longer episode, but it's our show. We can do what we want.
I think it's a lot of people like the longer episodes because they like listen on their commutes or it just depends. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll see how no guarantees it'll be a long one next week, but we'll see how it goes. So in the meantime, if you guys want to reach out to us or talk about anything you heard on the show or share your own trip reports or questions or whatnot, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys and, just sharing in that Disney enthusiasm that we all have. And We're also on social media, so you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on YouTube as Welcome Home Podcast. You can find us on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. Make sure on Facebook, if you're wanting to find an awesome Disney group, join the Welcome Home Disney waitlist, which is our group, and has all the people that we enjoy talking with. People that share memes, and we get listener questions from there and all kinds of stuff. So check out that group if you're looking for a good Disney Facebook group. And if you'd like to help support the show, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out our different merchandise there. It all goes towards just helping us to continue making the show and, occasionally doing stuff. I know we haven't done a shirt in a bit, or the last shirt that was done was Damon did some stuff with the Golden Button Detour. But whenever we make new shirts and stuff like that, we do post them on the store. So make sure you have that link handy whenever we do that. And we also do have a Patreon. So if you would like to support us via Patreon, you go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod and check out our different merch there, which is exclusive to Patreon. The stuff on Patreon is not available on the store. So you can only get it through Patreon support. And also our Patreon listeners get access to the Discord server, which is yet another place that we have a lot of great conversations and get great questions and just people talking about Disney stuff, especially, things like the Fantasy Springs opening and stuff like that. We love talking about that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for a Discord server to talk about Disney stuff, check out our Patreon. Last but not least, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review because it does help more people find the show. And, we would love for more people to find the show because, we enjoy doing the show, and more people listening to it just makes us feel happy. So, that's about it. So
yeah.
No other reason besides that. But yeah, if you leave us a review on iTunes, we do love reading those reviews as well, because you can actually do a written review.
I do have one.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
So this is actually Turbo Redneck is checking back in. I guess decided to update their review. It says the Three Caballeros. The show is pretty much the Three Caballeros attraction with a Disney news section. Trevor and Tom hold down the production while Damon wanders around making his own good time. Occasionally Damon goes missing, and just like on the attraction, the guys wonder where he went. It's pretty good. That's pretty funny. That's pretty accurate. So thank you for that review. That's great.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like it. So don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I said it again. We've been saying it for so long and now it's gone. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube Music, just about any podcast app that's out there. You can find us. Just search for Welcome Home and look for our show. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company. As such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please consult a DVC cast member or Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to our sponsor of this episode, DVC Resale Market and World of DVC, for continuing to sponsor the show and be our great partners. Please check them out for all of your DVC-related needs. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion and, of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.